Welcome back. This is the Kelly Roach Show, and today we are going to talk through how to eliminate over 20 hours of work each week as a CEO or business leader, and what you can do right away to lower your stress, create more freedom, and more energy to focus on the things that you love beyond business. So, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about a couple different elements of how to create an effective CEO schedule. And of course, you have to take what you love and leave what you don't. But I'm going to talk you through what has worked for me and how I've created a freedom-based schedule. And a lot of this is what allowed me to really start entertaining the idea of what would it look like to continue to run my portfolio of companies while homeschooling Madison. I shared recently that we have made the decision to homeschool Madison starting next year. Billy and I are going to be doing this together as a team. And this is going to require multiple days a week from me in order to do this. So how am I going to make this all work? And what is this going to look like? Well, it's going to start by reinforcing the things that I've already had in place in my business for the last couple of years that have completely transformed my work, home, balance, integration, whatever you want to call it. And then I'm going to continue to refine it as we move into the new year. I'll do a totally separate episode on how I'm preparing to homeschool Madison and what that's going to look like. But today, let's talk about how to take back your time as an entrepreneur and a business leader. So the first one is, eliminate the need to do scheduling on a weekly basis, period. So many entrepreneurs spend countless hours, whether it's over the weekend preparing, it's Monday morning, it's Friday getting set up for the next week, trying to figure out where to spend their time, what to prioritize, how to schedule, when to schedule, what to schedule. I have figured out a system where you don't need to do any of that. Your week is already planned for you. And that is by having an extraordinarily good understanding of the core components of things that you need blocks in your schedule for every single week, and creating recurring time blocks for each of those items. Now, before you run off and go and create recurring time blocks for things, listen to this entire episode, because you don't want to do this until you've heard all the steps that I'm here to talk you through today. So when you think about recurring time blocks, first of all, it's important to understand that this changes constantly. This is not a set it and forget it thing. So you may have heard me talk about this 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, and you may be thinking, oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. That's great, but your recurring time blocks change all the time, and they need to. In fact, they should be reevaluated every business quarter, and you should be reprioritizing not only the recurring time blocks that you have on the schedule, but how much and how often. The most important thing that's going to eliminate the need to do weekly planning, which accounts for a lot of entrepreneurs, 3 to even 10 hours of work, is knowing and having a great understanding of all the things that you are going to spend time on anyway, whether it's scheduled or not. You see, poor planning and poor time management accounts for a lot of overworking. It accounts for a lot of extra time in the business, because when you don't plan appropriately and you don't understand the things that you need time allocated for, and you don't pre-plan to allocate that time, what happens? You're always trying to shove extra meetings in, add tasks on, submit a block before your block, add a block at the end. And before you know it, it's a 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. and you're working longer hours than you did as an employee. Okay. And this is the trap that a lot of business owners fall into. How do you get out of this? Well, first of all, you have to study your own behavior, and you have to learn your own time priorities, right? So before you create your time blocks, I would recommend kind of going back through the last 30, 60, 90 days and really looking at where your time went. And one, asking yourself, is where your time went where it should have went? And two, really looking at how much time you need to be allocating on a daily and weekly basis in order to accomplish the priorities at hand. The truth is that you need time blocks for both things that are priorities that you want to focus on and priorities that you need to focus on. And while you want to first the things that you want to focus on, the needle movers, the most important big rocks, the profit producing activities, those are your big rocks that you're going to put in first. But if you don't follow that up by putting blocks for operational related tasks, HR conversations, coaching sessions with employees, urgent issues that come up, then these things are going to get added to your calendar anyway. But the problem is now they're getting added before hours, after hours, and on the weekend. If you want to take back your time and reclaim the freedom in your business, then you have to know what things come up in your business on an ongoing basis. And you have to plan for both the desirable and the undesirables. Okay. So when you think about recurring time blocks, this eliminates the need for you to do weekly planning because your week is already planned. For me, everything is on my calendar, from taking Madison to her dance classes, to our mommy-daughter dates, to my us days with Billy and I, to our family trips and vacations, client-related things, even one-on-ones and in-person, team VIP sessions are planned months and months in advance. And my recurring calendar is built around the all-encompassing tasks that I need to focus on, from PR-related items to podcast recording, to podcast guesting, to content creation, to content writing, to operational meetings, team meetings, client-facing activities, launch support meetings, and everything in between. I have an encyclopedic knowledge of where I need to spend my time in order to drive the business forward. And so all of those things are mapped out in my calendar so that I can look at that Rubik's Cube and really reorganize in such a way that I can plan for both the expected and the unexpected to ensure that I am able to wrap my work up at a reasonable hour and focus on prioritizing my family as the first priority in my life. Okay. And so first things first, as you're listening to this episode, you might want to hit pause now and go back through your calendar over the last 90 days and start writing down all the blocks that you need to have time allocated for, all the blocks that you've been spending time on, all the projects that have been taking time, attention, energy of yours. Now, I don't want you to stop there because all priorities are not created equal. You know this. And just because you have been spending time on something doesn't mean that you should be spending time on it. So the question that you have to ask yourself as you're doing this is, are you actually spending ample time on the needle moving activities, visibility, content creation, PR appearances, launches, live streams, content, all the things that are actually going to move your business forward? Are you allowing back end things to take too much time and not putting enough time into driving the business forward? Maybe the answer yes, maybe the answer is no. But as you go through that exercise, don't just write down all the blocks, but evaluate the blocks as you're doing it and ask yourself, are there things that you need to pause? Are there things that you need to stop doing? Are there things that you need to take the time to train your team on so that you can delegate? Are there things that just no longer make sense to continue? And the more ruthless that you become about asking those questions, the easier it's going to be to start taking back your time. Once you go through and you narrow down into, let's call it the 10 or 15 blocks that you need to have on your calendar on a recurring basis, you begin to schedule them at set recurring times. Now, this is where part 2 of the equation of taking back 20 hours of your time comes in. You don't want to just have a calendar that is spattered with all different activities all day, every day, so that you're frantically task switching from internal focus to external focus, client-facing activities to prospect-facing activities, team-facing conversations to content creation. What you will find is that even though you can physically switch tasks very quickly, just like multitasking, you can physically switch tasks very quickly. That doesn't mean that mentally you can, which means that you are being ineffective, you are losing tons of time, and most importantly, you're losing a lot of effectiveness in what you're doing. One of the reasons why so many entrepreneurs have to work so many countless hours is that what they're doing is ineffective. And so what you need to think about is not just the physical act of switching tasks and kind of the toll that that takes on you mentally, but you need to think about the mental load and the ability for your brain to reset, which we know takes 20 to 30 minutes every time you switch tasks. Okay. So before you actually schedule out when your recurring time blocks are going to happen, you want to categorize them. Okay. And you want to categorize those blocks and put them together into batching. And the more that you batch and the less task switching that you do, the more effective that you're going to be, the more efficient that you're going to be, and the less time it's going to take in order to get the outcome and result that you want. So the second activity that you want to do before you commit to your actual recurring time blocks on the calendar is you want to build out your theme days. Now, when you think about your theme days, everyone's days based on the stage of business that you're in are going to look a little bit different. Okay. If you're a small business owner that doesn't yet have a full-time sales team, you're going to be selling every day. And that's going to be the big focal point of your day every single day. And so you probably need about half of your day every day that is dedicated to sales. And then it's going to be the second half of your day that is going to be themed out and cover all the other elements of activities that you've just identified. If you're the CEO of a larger organization, you have an established team, you have a sales team, then chances are you're going to move into actual theme days, mimicking and mirroring a little bit more of what I'm talking about here, where you have a core focus each day. So for me, I have a team facing internal and operations day. I have a client facing external coaching, servicing, client interface day. I have a PR and content creation day. I have podcasting and a CEO day. And typically, I will rotate between days or weeks where I have a day that's focused on podcasting or a day that's focused on content creation versus a day that's focused on guesting. Those things kind of mix and merge together. I do guest podcasting every week now, and I'm trying to do 3 to 4 every week now because I'm really, really focused on brand awareness and brand expansion this year. But what I would say is, you can have a day that is content creation, PR, and podcasting. That can be one day. You can have a day that is your deep work day, your CEO day. You can have a day that's client facing. You can have a day that's team facing. For me, I have a flex day. Every Friday is flex. Some of my Fridays are us days with Billy and I. Some of my Fridays are meetings. Some of my Fridays are travel. Some of my Fridays are events. It just depends on what's going on, but that is a flex day for me. So before you commit to your actual recurring time blocks, you need to figure out your theme days. And it may be, given the stage of business that you're in, that you have theme half days. As I mentioned, it might be that every morning from 8 until 12 p.m., you're 100% focused on selling and marketing. And then in the afternoon, you may rotate through client facing, team facing, PR, podcast content, operations, and so on and so forth. But the bottom line is you have to categorize all of your time blocks, organize those time blocks into themes and batching, and then map out your days of the week. Doing this essentially gave me my Fridays back. So I don't take any calls on Fridays. I don't do calls on Fridays. It's very rare that I will add scheduled things on the calendar on Friday because I want that freedom and I'm trying to build a model for sustainable freedom that I can teach to you. Okay. So doing this model allowed me to basically take back that entire 8-hour day that used to be consumed with calls and meetings and appointments and bookings. And so now I have that freedom. This is going to be a major, major win for you if you can get this right. So now you've eliminated planning. You've eliminated scheduling. You've eliminated task switching. And at this point, if you can get these couple things that I just taught you right, you're already digging into taking back probably close to 15 hours a week. When you go through that exercise of all the things you've been working on, the tasks that you've been doing, the things you've been spending time on, it is up to you to be ruthless with your time and to identify all the things that you can either outsource, delegate, train someone on, pause, or eliminate completely. If you don't do that step, then you've missed a huge opportunity to take back hours and hours of your week each week. And this is especially important now because in the market that we're in, you have to be sharp. You have to be focusing a lot more of your energy and time on outward facing, market facing activities. Okay. All right. So we talked about task switching. We talked about theme days. We talked about recurring time blocks. Now I want to talk about scheduling and rescheduling meetings. Now, I already talked about the fact that if you follow this model that I'm teaching you, you no longer need to do scheduling on a weekly basis. So for me, for example, All of my one-on-ones are at recurring times. My team meetings are at recurring times, right? My portfolio meetings at recurring times. And so there's no scheduling needed. It's on a recurring basis and it's already there, right? So I'll sit down in one fell swoop and I'll schedule 6 months at a time going out in the future. And then I'll kind of evaluate as I go and see like, okay, what adjustments do I need to make for this quarter, so on and so forth. Okay. But I've been doing this for a while now, so I have a pretty good handle on where I need to be focused. And it's more minor tweaks and adjustments at this point. So one of the big things that I see busy business owners do quite a bit is they're frantically rescheduling things all the time. They're moving meetings around, they're putting blocks on their calendar and then they're changing it. They're rescheduling meetings, they're changing the schedule with the team. This is a telltale sign of someone that is A, going to burn out, and B, going to feel busy and overwhelmed all the time. A hallmark of an effective leader is someone who commits and follows through. You have to learn discipline in your schedule. When you say you're going to do something, do it. When you commit to a meeting, follow through. Because every time that you make a change to your schedule that impacts anyone else in your organization, or heck, even people outside of your organization, you have now caused a loss of productivity for every other person that you are interacting with. They now have to reshift and reshape their schedule because of your chaos. And so you want to know one of the biggest things that costs teams money is when their CEO or when their leader is disorganized and keeps changing meetings and keeps changing times and is canceling and is reworking. And I actually had this problem with one of the leaders that is no longer with me. And I will tell you, we lost massive, and I do mean massive amounts of productivity because of this. And it was something that I saw that kind of always bothered me, but I never fully processed the unbelievable impact that it was having on the organization until after this person was gone. And I realized like, wow, this was causing chaos for the entire organization. And it was blocking the team from having that clarity and that certainty and that cadence that is so essential in order to thrive. So again, your discipline is not only affecting your productivity and your schedule, but everyone else that you touch. And the more that you follow through on what you commit to from a scheduling standpoint with your recurring blocks, number one, the less scheduling that you have to do. And number two, the less time and productivity loss you're going to experience when you then have to reschedule. And then you have to negotiate back and forth around all these other people's schedules and all these other people's work days, because now they have all of their other commitments. And now you're creating a domino of chaos in their calendar and in their life. Okay. So the other thing is shortening meetings. Okay. The shorter a meeting, the more effective it is. Right. And sometimes meetings need to be a full hour. Sometimes meetings need to be multiple days. Okay. So there's no right or wrong meeting length. But what I will say is things will always expand out to the amount of time that you give it. And so what you have to look at in your organization is, where are you losing productivity and efficiency because you're allowing meetings to be unproductive? Why? Because of poor planning, because of disorganization, not following agenda, not having a plan. When I come to my team meetings, when I come to my one-on-ones, I have a doc in the inbox of the person that I'm meeting with. There's a list of tasks that we're going to go through. Many times when I meet with my team, I have a PowerPoint prepared in advance that I'm going through. I don't want to waste their time. I don't want them to waste mine. And it is your preparation that determines the impact of the meeting and the effectiveness. And the longer that you keep people in a meeting, the more that the point that you're trying to get across kind of fizzles out and loses its power. So looking at the length of your meetings is going to be a huge, huge productivity and time saver. And I'll couple your meeting cadence with your preparation as being a huge make or break factor in this. The next one is ensuring that you are following a weekly one-on-one schedule with all of your direct reports. So many people in the entrepreneurial space complain to me saying, I'm constantly fielding questions. Everyone always needs me for everything. My hands are in everything. I can't unplug because everyone always needs something. You create that. And so one, you have to teach your team to be problem solvers. You have to set the expectation of them being in solution. And two, you need to make sure the way that you structure, the way that you work with your team is not in haphazard, random communication all day long, every single day. Not to say that there shouldn't be communication all week. There absolutely should be. I'm in touch with my team every single day, throughout the day, all week long. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is, from a productivity standpoint, being efficient and effective in your one-on-ones, making sure that there's a plan, having an agenda, knowing what you're trying to accomplish from an outcome standpoint is going to be a complete game changer when it comes to moving the business forward productively versus haphazard communication where you're constantly just putting out fires, answering questions, and in reaction mode. So that's going to make a big, big difference in your productivity as well. We talked about scheduled one-on-ones. We talked about shortening and increasing the effectiveness of your meetings. We talked about creating theme days. We talked about time blocking. We talked about going through a 90-day time audit and really looking at where your time is spent, identifying areas where you can either outsource, delegate, close out completely, or pause, right? And across all of these things that we went over today, there is no reason why you cannot take back 20 hours a week of your time. Now, I know one of the things that really stresses business owners out the most is figuring out how to get sales coming into their business each and every day. I get it. And that's why I developed the Miracle Hour system. It's why I teach the Miracle Hour. If you haven't already gotten started with this system in your business and you want to get started learning for free, just scroll down below this episode or DM me on Instagram, Kelly Roach Official, DM me the word Miracle Hour. I guess you could say DM me the words Miracle Hour. If you're connected with me on Facebook, DM me there. If you're connected with me on LinkedIn, DM me there. Instagram, DM me there. Send me the words Miracle Hour, and I'm going to send you the trainings on how to get started with this incredible system for daily sales. It is simple to implement. It is easy to get started, and it is what you can use to elevate the productivity and the profitability of your business right away. Thanks so much for tuning into the Kelly Roach Show. Make sure you DM me the words Miracle Hour to take the next step in productivity and profits for your business and your team. And if you love today's episode, make sure you share it online so that someone else can also enjoy it. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you on the next episode.